It always comes to this. Back into another tattoo progress update today. Where I last left off, I had no doubt showed off session 75, believe it or not, with Rick. The inner forearm tentacles were redone again. I'd say that's 3 or 4 times for those with the color. God knows how many times we've done black on black there, but just color, like the straight up color, was I think either the 3rd or 4th pass. Most of this stuff on my my left arm has been hit between 3 and 5 times with color, and lined and shaded with black countless times, not the least of which my elbow, which I will get into in a bit here. There is no part of that arm that hasn't been tattooed well over 30 times, which again is positively a world record. There's zero doubt that I think that my left arm has been tattooed more than any limb that's ever been known to man, and probably will ever be known to man, and we're not done yet. There are people who are safely resting with their bodysuits that have world records that are far less elaborate than those that I have. So recently my video of the world records being declined by Guinness went up, and I had some people wondering why I care. It's the thing is if that institution is to exist, they should at least get it right, and there's no good argument against my claim anymore. I'm not going to go on about that too much longer. This should be evidence that I'm always working far ahead of my vlogs. As I mention every now and then, guys, if you want to see where I'm at, I don't beat this drum very often, but if you want to see where I'm at currently, I do have a member. I have a member videos where you can see what I'm up to kind of currently, whereas I'm working well ahead, partly because I've always got so much going on that I can't really afford to be making a video that day to go up that day, and I can't edit things that way either. I edit these things when I have time, and sometimes I can't even get to them for a week after I make them. So it's more or less just kind of bookkeeping for me to make these well in advance. These algorithms demand that contents goes up more frequently than I even do put it up. If you get into like some types of content, you need to be making 4 or 5 videos every day to stay relevant. And I already lose quite a few of my followers in the cracks because I don't do enough content as it is. And I know this, but I don't have more time to dedicate to this. So, yeah. Anyway, it's been about a week since I've made a video. I took the week off with Terry this week, quite intentionally. Pace break, as we were working pretty non-stop with all this black on color on black stuff that we've been doing on my torso, and it's all doing very well. So we got there a little bit faster than I expected, so I actually canceled my midweek appointment with Terry this past week and slotted someone else in there instead. And it feels like I hadn't been tattooed in 8 years, because there are times when I get tattooed even 3 times a week. You know, when I had the Nosferatu done recently, that was the 3rd time I'd been tattooed that week. So this year I've had a few times where I've been tattooed 3 times a week again. And so to go a full week where I only had a few hours with Rick, you know, my body is like, come on, what are we doing here? It feels like we're going into retirement. That's not so much a mental thing, that's more physical, because like mentally I didn't even mind having the time off. It was kind of nice, but physically my tattoo with Rick healed about 5 days ago, and it wasn't even dry this morning when I woke up. There's no evidence that it was even tattooed. So as I'm looking at it now, it's a little dry from the alcohol wipe that Rick did earlier, but like that all healed up great. So this whole arm has really come together in a very cohesive way that I'm very happy with. The one spot that's been lagging behind is obviously the elbow, and then the hand is the other spot. So I guess there's 2 spots. And Rick didn't really plan on getting into the elbow again today, but he's as bothered by it as I am. And so we put the focus into that. The first hour or so was spent on the elbow again, and we didn't end up getting this whole tentacle. Rick wanted to get this whole thing, but the skin was fighting back a bit, and some of the colors weren't going in as well, and so we shut it down, which to me is not really a big deal, because it's one of those things where it's not like we're not going to be in the area again anyway, and when we're at 76 sessions, it's not really that important that session 76 we finished this tentacle once and for all. The evidence is there to support that we're going to be back in that neck of the woods, so I'm not that concerned with it. With that said, I'm hoping for a better result with this elbow this time, but we had a little bit of retention last time, but it was going that way again. And you know, in this elbow, because people have said it's done better, and it kind of has, right? But again, I mentioned this to Rick today, we used the yellow of the thorns to break up, and same thing when it was white in the thorns, because you can see that the line weight hasn't survived in that elbow either. So it is what it is. I have these calluses, and the likelihood is that even if we can get this to a place where it one day is decent, it's never going to be as good as the rest of the sleeve. And it's for the same reason I have people ask me if we're doing color on black fingers, because I re-blacked these out, and I'm probably going to black them out even one more time here, maybe early next year. It's not worth the fucking struggle. And I would never tell you guys it's impossible, because I don't really believe in that word, to be honest with you. I've seen enough stuff, even in my own life, I've done enough stuff that has been said to be impossible that I don't actually believe that that's a thing. I think that what's possible or what's impossible is whatever you decide can't be done yourself. So to some degree, manifest destiny. If I decide that I can do it and that it's worth it to me, then that means that it will be doable. But this is not doable, right? Doing my fingers, because likelihood is it would take probably 5 to 10 passes to saturate red over black fingers. For the same reasons that it's difficult to saturate them to begin with, your fingers will grip onto color, and it will look like they're saturated when they're not. Same as it does with black ink, which is why when the skin peels, they're less saturated than they looked. So the idea of then saturating black into red on fingers where you're already in the extremities of saturation to begin with is just not a worthwhile endeavor. Same thing that I've explained with my palms. It's not to say that it's impossible to fully saturate palms well. I've seen them done. I just know what that looks like. It's a lot of passes, and that's a lot of days that I can't work out. And working out has become a bigger part of my my body mod journey than tattooing, believe it or not. And people will question that, because obviously I'm not making workout videos, I'm making tattoo videos, but I only get tattooed for a few hours a week. Fitness is a everyday constant focus, and people will say, oh, you only work out for half hour or so a day, right? Well, kinda. I work out for probably an hour and a half to 2 hours a day, if you factor in time on cardio and things like this. But I also focus on my diet, and I put a lot more mental energy into that than I do tattoos. People will go, oh man, you got so much time for tattoos. It's like, not really. It's a very small part of my life. I just feel like everybody has that time. They just spend it poorly. Because if it's not money, it's time people say they don't have, right? And I think that argument holds up even less. But people say this about all kinds of things, and that's part of why they're unhappy with where they are in life. They spend all their time scrolling their phones and being unhappy, and then none on what they want to be doing, and they act like they have no time. I see this all the time. And more people are they're wasting their life on their phones, and they're not engaging with it, and they're unhappy with what they have to show for it. So there's a big takeaway here. It's that, and from my journey, it's not, oh boy, that guy can take a lot of pain. It's, you can do a lot with your time if you want to. right? And same thing for money. I'm not rich. I wasn't born wealthy. I didn't have a silver spoon up my ass. My mother was poor. My father was poor. My stepdad was poor. And I worked as a line cook for 20 years. So I wasn't born with some fucking inheritance or anything like that. It's just actioned will, right? It's just manifest destiny to some degree. If you believe you can achieve nothing, you will achieve nothing. Whereas if you believe you can achieve something as insane as this sleeve, then you will find a way to get there. I have so much locked up in this sleeve working, you could call it sunk cost. It's more sunk time cost and belief cost and all the bullshit that I put out here to you guys. I have said so much about how we're going to do this sleeve and how it's going to happen that it's just a reality that you find a way there, right? Whereas if you never hold yourself accountable to anything, you're never going to get anywhere. It's just a good practice for life in general. It was the same way when I lost 90 pounds in 6 months. There was at no point me saying, oh, I want to lose weight. I'd like to lose weight. I hope I can lose weight. No. I said, I'm going to lose weight, right? And then there was no option that I wasn't going to. I made a whole video on that back in 2022. And I would never say that my methods were medically the best. It's just when you give yourself no option to fail, then you won't fail. Whereas when you have a plan B or you're willing to negotiate on the matter, you just don't care enough about it to do it. That's always been what I believed on that. And people who say things are impossible, they usually haven't really looked into whether that's true or not. They're just they're advocating the possibility up front because they don't want to do the work that it might require to do the thing, right? It's like, did anybody ever really put that much work into figuring out whether this was possible before they would have said it wasn't? Probably not. It's probably like they look down the road at what that might require and it seems not feasible or in some way impractical. And so to save time for anyone interested, we just call it impossible instead, right? Because the likelihood is that it's going to require more effort than what most people have. And I'm totally okay with people saying improbable or infeasible, right? Those words are more like factual and sound logic than calling something impossible just because we haven't done it yet, right? So like I said, in my own life, I've seen enough things that have been said, even my cartilage piercings. People will tell me that that's impossible. People will tell me that what I've done is impossible. To my face, they'll say I'm lying. You can look back at prior videos and pictures of me where my piercings, my cartilage piercings in particular, were all smaller than they are now. And you can see that they were stretched over time. And even in the face of that, they'll say, nope, that's not possible. I swear to God, I've even heard this from piercers. All I talk about to you guys is tattoos these days because I'm not doing anything with piercings anymore. But the piercing subculture is even more dismissive and up its own ass than the tattoo culture somehow, as if that were possible. So, yeah, it's been really interesting. I've just seen so many things done that have taken my mind to the place that, no, pretty much anything is probably doable. It just takes a sick fuck or a really strange pursuit, someone who really wants to get there bad enough. For example, we used to talk about shit like this on the podcast all the time, Kevin, Scott, and I, for the people who used to watch that show. Kevin and I may actually be doing a reacts together at some point. We were joking about doing one the other day. Just a one-off for people who remember. We talk about time travel, right? And it's like, the idea is that this is impossible, or theoretically it's impossible anyway, but it's not. In my mind, I feel like I've figured out a way to time travel on a small scale myself. Anytime I sit down for anything uncomfortable, I time travel, right? I don't really feel much of any of it. So many people ask me about how I get through pain, or are you tired of the pain and all these. I don't think about it at all. Immediately I drift away from it, and before I know it, I'm the situation is over. For example, it feels as if I just got to the shop 5 minutes ago, but I've been here 4.5 hours. Rick and I had already had the setup to tear down all the bullshit in between, the smoke breaks, whatever. And the whole tattoo, we took pictures, now I'm making the vlog. And in my mind, I'm already home. So even while I'm making this video, I've time traveled, right? It's the end of the day. I'm at home already. In my mind, the moment that that operation starts, it ends. And so if I can map that internally out farther, I think we could probably do that with everything, right? Now that might not be the way that people think about time travel, because it's so abstract and personal to me. I think you could probably find a way to do that on a large scale. So it's just, obviously I'm not going to be the one who can figure that out, but there's probably a scientific equation to do that. I've heard this thing where when you go a certain speed, you almost break the speed of time, right? I'm not going to be the guy who can tackle that mathematical equation, but I have a feeling that when technology gets to a point and when there's sufficient enough energy put towards that topic, I think we'll figure that out. And I think it's probably possible to do it in reverse as well. Now, again, obviously I'm tackling things that are outside my breadth. I'm just the tattooed guy. I'm the tattooed weirdo that has no business talking about anything else, which is part of why when people ask me to make videos about my fitness routine, I decline, because I'm staying in my lane over here. I do get out of that a little bit now and then, but between you and I, guys, I don't think that anything's impossible, and anyone who's saying that something's impossible, they're going to be the people who never do much of anything interesting in their life, and we do need that. We do need people that just push buttons and keep the lights on for everyone and do the jobs that everybody does. And we do need those things, but we do need people who are curious and weird enough to go out onto the fringes to find out what actually is possible, so that other people will know, because there aren't that many people willing to go out on these limbs, right? I had so many people comment. I did a back piece video from start to finish of my back blackout to where I am now, and so many people were just like, how did you know it would work? And it's like, you don't necessarily know how well it's going to work. You just have an idea that it will work, and then you make it happen, right? It's not like you have a set amount of time in mind to get there. And with that one, I did. But from the start of this stuff, it's just like, I don't know, we're going to find out. The world needs more of that, right? More willingness to try and see what's doable. If we had that, I think we'd be happier overall. I feel like, but the problem is we've pushed some mediums so far that to get into those arenas where we are trying new things is pretty hard to do. It's like a lot of the terrain has already been mapped out, so you have to be a bit of a sick fuck that's really driven to find further boundaries to conquer, right? If you sell someone 300 hours of pain to find out whether something's doable, just as an example, they're going to strip back from that. They're not necessarily going to be apt to the challenge unless they have some real curiosity in them, right? Some desire for progress. Anyway, with all that said, rambled on about, I'll show this off one more time, and hopefully we'll get some more in that elbow this time. Seems like we get a little more every time we do it, but again, my elbows have not been done, guys. My elbows have been done more than anyone's that have ever lived. This elbow's probably been saturated 30 fucking times, and it's getting pretty beat up. I don't know that it's impossible to do. It's just gonna be pretty hard to do. We'll say that. All right, I'll talk to you guys again here in a few days. Have a great day.